The Garden City, the IT hub, and a city with great weather. If there's one name that pops up in everyone's mind, it has to be Bengaluru. But there's one thing you would never be able to do there. That is, to be on time, thanks to the never-ending traffic problems. Does not matter if you work in the city or are a local of the city, it is one aspect that everybody dislikes about the place, which is the traffic. And yes, a Bengalurian like me too has gone through this. And that is the challenge every citizen goes through. Last evening was no less than a nightmare. Residents of the city were trapped on the outer ring road area for several hours. Now let us tell you how bad it was. On a regular Wednesday, the vehicle count is 1.5 to 2 lakhs. But yesterday, it was at 3.5 lakhs at 7:30 p.m. That is about 3.59 lakh vehicles stuck in this bottleneck for several hours. Naturally, citizens were frustrated. Residents took to social media to vent out their frustration. One user shared that he decided to do something different and to order Domino's while waiting for the traffic to clear. Another user reported that her children reached home from school only at around 8 p.m.
It was very frustrating. First and foremost, I faced the choke of the traffic in the morning while, commuting to work. It took me around 2.5 hours to reach office, wherein it usually takes around 45 minutes to reach a 10-kilometer drive. Again, later in the evening, with a little bit of rain, it just got delayed further by 3 hours. It was super frustrating because there was just no space for our vehicle to move. And people were just honking, and none of us had any clue as to why there was such a huge traffic on road. I hope, those who are responsible for this, the authorities, look into this so that we avoid such situations in future.
So I guess I was one of the lucky ones who wasn't caught in a jam yesterday, except for probably in my morning commute from my house to my office, which is a regular sort of a jam that I face every day. But I did get to know of a lot of cases of my friends who got stuck in serious jams, almost 2 hours in jams or 3.5 hours in jams. For a very short distance from Kormangala till probably, I think, Old Madras Road, they took about 3.5 hours. So that is tormenting and very unfortunate. I'm not sure if this was because of poor infrastructure or because of the long holidays coming about. I'm not really sure what the reason was, but I think it's unacceptable.
Even Sarjapur, and the traffic is always there in that route. But yesterday was too much. Usually it takes me around maximum 1 hour to reach home. But yesterday it took me around 3 hours just in traffic. My car was not moving anywhere. My wife was waiting for me, and we had a planned dinner outside, but we couldn't go. And the whole evening was spoiled just in the car.
In fact, Mirror now questioned the Karnataka Home Minister G. Parmeshwara over the never-ending traffic issues. Listen in to what he had to say.
Oh, it's one of its kind. You see, it was a long holiday. People wanted to go home to their natives and all that. The second reason was there was a rain and there is work going on in that ring road. Metro work is going on. Added to that, this home from work. A lot of people were going to office. I believe they give 3 days from the office, they have to work and all those kind of things. So all put together, there's a huge traffic. We'll definitely look into our failures if there are any.
But let us rewind to the month of June 2023. The newly elected Congress government had just come to power in the state. In fact, the Karnataka Deputy CM D.K. Shivakumar said that brand Bengaluru will be a focus for the state and citizens can share their grievances. Let's listen in.
ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಂಬಾಸಿಡರ್ಸ್ ಯಾರಿದ್ರು ಒಂದು 40 ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಕರೆದು ಮಾತಾಡಿದೆ. ಇನ್ನ ಬಹಳ ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಬಹಳ ಪ್ರಮುಖರೆಲ್ಲ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ವಿಚಾರ, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಶೇಪ್ ಕೊಡಬಹುದು, ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ಸ್ ವಿಚಾರ, ಟನಲ್ ವಿಚಾರ, ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ವಿಚಾರ, ಪಾರ್ಕ್ ವಿಚಾರ, ಲೇಕ್ ವಿಚಾರ, ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ಸ್ ವಿಚಾರ, ಇಂತೆಲ್ಲ ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಗವರ್ನೆನ್ಸ್, ಕರಪ್ಷನ್ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ನನ್ನ ಗಮನವನ್ನ ಸೆಳೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಮಧ್ಯ ಅವರ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಕೆಲವೆಲ್ಲ ಸಲಹೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕರ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಕೂಡ ಕೇಳಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ.
But of course, the reality of the situation remains the same. Traffic snarls, poor infrastructure, and a state, remember, that pays massive amount of tax, yet cannot have basic access to civic infrastructure. So the obvious question that we're asking is, don't the citizens of Bengaluru deserve better? And why is it impossible to find a long-term solution? Of course, I'm asking these questions. Our phone lines are open. Do call us in. We'll also be joined in by our guests in a bit to understand their perspective about this. But I do understand our viewers have started to call us in. Let me go across to KV Gupta, joining us from Bengaluru. Mr. Gupta, good evening. Go ahead and share with us your perspective.
Friend, I'm very happy to be online, and this is my input. Everyone loves to blame the others. The government loves to blame the citizens. Citizens love to blame the government and everybody else. The government says it doesn't have money to add on to infrastructure because it's given too many free guarantees, number one. And number two, it is given too many free passes. So now the women are all in the buses on the ring road. They're all the buses in the buses, and that's why the traffic jam has happened. Number two, automobile companies don't synchronize with the government to plan well. They're only bothered about sales of their automobiles. For example, every TV channel, every newspaper you see, you only see pushing of car, SUV. They don't plan. And every development unit of economic development, the more richer and the more wealthier people become, they become more individuals. They become more individualistic. For example, once upon a time, if somebody wanted to go on a holiday, they would go by the bus, they would go by the train. Today, if you see on the road, what I see on the TV, if you see all the cars, all the SUVs, there'll only be one passenger per car. It will not be like as if there are 5 or 10 people in one car. A KSRTC bus can take 55 people. A Volvo bus can take 33 people. And you know how much space it takes. So individuals are more individualistic. They want their own pleasure. They want the government to serve them. They want to buy the latest automobile. And they want to send their children to the best of the schools, even if it is 10 to 15 kilometers away. And today they get stuck. Their buses, their children are wasting 2 hours, 3 hours in somewhere else. And there is no safety for the children. Everybody knows what is happening all over India. It's a normal phenomenon. So I would actually say that it starts with the citizens now. They should be more responsible. They should stop taking out their car. They should start using more of public transport. They want to go on a holiday as a family, go by a bus, go by a metro, go by a train, and reduce the car vehicle population on the road. Automatically, you will see that the roads are not jammed. There are these apps which serve.
Gupta, you of course make a lot of pertaining points over there, but that is one loophole that you pointed out about the fact that Bengaluru, of course, lacks great public transportation. I'll take that point across to my guests as well. But before that, let me take the opportunity to introduce them. Anand Gurumurthy, spokesperson of the BJP, Advocate Sanket Yanagi, spokesperson of the Congress, and Sandeep Anirudhan, founder of Citizens Agenda. Good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for taking the time out. I'm just going to come back to you quickly in a couple of minutes. I do understand more viewers from the city are joining us over the phone lines. Devashish from Bengaluru, good evening. Go ahead and share with us your perspective this evening.
Yeah, good evening. And I think the earlier viewer pointed out the right points why this is happening. So to my understanding, there are primarily 3 reasons. 1 or 2 have already been covered. So the city lacks the right kind of public transport. With the growing number of population every year, there's an influx of people come into Bangalore, settle in here. Let's add to the infrastructure rules. Second is the road condition, which I've seen in Bangalore. One day they'll come and build newer. After a few days, somebody will come and dug up the roads. That's also add to the congestion everywhere. Third is, I have seen that post-COVID, there's a huge number of vehicles, especially personal vehicles, individual-driven, has grown significantly. And certainly, it's not now that the authorities are saying the infrastructure not been ready to handle that kind of congestion, but it's happening since last 10 to 15 years. It's been happening. The last point I would say is that one big difference we see in case of Chennai and Bangalore is in Chennai is a quite old metro which has a lot of population coming in, but that kind of congestion doesn't happen there. The reason, to my understanding, is that the number of high-rises that is in Chennai as proportion to the size of the road, it is different than case of Bangalore. In Bangalore, the roadside may be quite leaner, and there may not be enough space for two vehicles to pass, side by side. But then the authorities suddenly give approval to this sprawling high-rise, sky-touching apartments. So imagine if one family owned one car, given to the affluence, growing affluence in India, you can imagine from one lane thousands of cars come in. Now, what the government can do? At a point, I would say, as pointed out by earlier caller, I think the citizens also hold a responsibility, and he rightly pointed out, everybody having a large SUV and it is mostly occupied one person. Now, who is going to blame this? Your experts also coming from political parties are going to blame each other, but they are not experts to understand the root cause. And this is just one train. The flood happened, there's a lot of uproar happened in the media and everywhere else. People forgot. Now, this traffic challenge is just not one-day affair. It is happening every day. Yesterday was just a larger thing that is happening in huge scale. That's what comes in the news. But everyone faces this every day. So it's a multifold challenge. It needs a scientific approach to address it. And that can only happen with the right kind of political will. Like this mudslinging and blaming it, so that's how to solve the problem. And again, it will pass, something else will come up.
All right, Devashish, of course, you probably represented the whole of Bengaluru as far as the problem of traffic is concerned. That is absolutely right. It is a recurring problem, but the question really lies in whether, as a city, it does definitely have poor infrastructure planning. So what is the government also going to do about this is the larger aspect. But let me also quickly go across to Matthew from Bengaluru. Matthew, good evening. Go ahead and share with us your perspective quickly.
Very good evening. I've got 3 points to make. First thing is how beautiful Bangalore was when we were in our schools. The best place. Everything was fine. Now, the second thing is what it is today. What has happened is the space that is available in Bangalore and the crowd that has come in the last, especially in the last decade, has been multiple times that Bangalore can actually afford, along with the vehicles. The vehicles, it is just every day about 1 lakh vehicles are added into Bangalore city. Where is the space? You don't have space. So this is the second thing. And the third thing what I want to say is the solution for this. So we can't blame any government for this. Any government comes, it is the same thing that's going to happen. The only solution that can be done is, it's very simple. It's simple mathematics. The space is less. So whatever you do, the space is less, you can't find a solution. The only alternative is you have to find neighboring adjacent townships to be built. And the townships, when I say, you have to relocate, decode what exactly is happening. For example, if you take IT, one belt from Maratali outer ring road to it goes to Hebbal, it's just IT belt. All the crowd is there. The road is entirely blocked. So it shouldn't be like that. We have to find a situation where only the urgent needs, basic necessities, what is required, such should be the prioritized one, not a full-fledged one, prioritized one. Rest, all those companies, be it IT, in the transport department or a government office, whatever it is, it should be slowly moved.
All right, Matthew, I'm afraid I'll have to interject you there because we're short of time. But of course, you made your points, which we want to thank you for joining. We'll, of course, take all those points across to my guests. Thank you, everyone, for being extremely patient. But Sandeep, let me come to you first, because with the fact that we heard so many citizens' voices as well, this is a recurring problem. Why is nobody able to find a long-term solution? And I come from that city too. We've all been through this traffic nightmare as far as Bengaluru is concerned. Of course, ORR is in the spotlight, but even other parts of Bengaluru, whether we talk about Malleshwaram, Jayanagar, the Hebbal corridor, the same story everywhere.
Nivedhana, thanks for having me. See, it all originates from the basic problem that the state government is in violation of our constitution, the 74th Amendment. 74th Amendment was drafted in 1992. Now it is 30 years. In 30 years, what they are mandated to have done in 1992 is to have a planning authority, the Metropolitan Planning Committee. They're supposed to have a devolved, decentralized city government, we don't have either of them. This is the root of the problem. Why? Because we don't have a planning authority, we don't have a master plan. Since we don't have a master plan, we don't have a mobility plan as part of it, which relates to the land use plan. And the second problem, which the Supreme Court rightly pointed out, I think in March this year, it called Bengaluru an example of a ruined city. And what it said contributed to it is unplanned growth. What you're seeing today in Bengaluru is unplanned growth. One, because we don't have planning. Two, because there is no enforcement of existing laws even. There is lack of governance. Typically, if you look at all the construction that's happening in Bengaluru right now, about 95% of it is unauthorized. It's mostly illegal constructions that are going on in Bengaluru. What is the consequence of this? An area which can take, say, X capacity of population today has to handle 100X. A small house, say a site which used to house a family, today we'll have a PG building with some 100 or 200 residents. What happens to the road? What happens to the number of vehicles that come into that area? What happens to the requirement for mobility? And the third big point is, of course, it goes back to the lack of planning. Whenever you have cities with high density, look at Mumbai, look at Calcutta, look at Singapore, look at Tokyo. The primary means of transport and mobility in those cities is largely mass rapid transit. It's always rail based. 70% of people in Mumbai take the suburban train. Almost 90 or 95% of people in Tokyo travel by train. In fact, for a 3.5 crore population of Tokyo, they have only 30 lakh private vehicles. Nobody buys a private vehicle in Tokyo. Nobody uses roads. In Bangalore, with a 1.5 crore population, we have almost 1.2 crore vehicles now. It's almost like everybody has a vehicle in Bangalore. And in Tokyo, not even 5 or 8% of the population has private vehicles. Now, the unfortunate thing is, we haven't learned from these cities. We'll keep touting, we'll keep saying, we want to become a Singapore, we want to become a Tokyo, we want to become a London. We forget what they are actually doing there. They are building mass rapid transit. They have rail-based transit system throughout the city. People don't have to use their own vehicles. They don't have to have gridlocks like what we've seen. And the dependence on private vehicles and roads is very low. If we have to become a developed city, this is where we should focus.
Sandeep, I'd have to interject you there. Of course, you make extremely valid points. There's lack of governance, there's lack of planning, and which is why we're in this, state. And of course, we know a city of Bengaluru doesn't have enough, or rather great public transport options as well. But let me come to you, Sanket, as far as the situation is concerned. We did hear what D.K. Shivkumar did say in June as well. As far as brand Bengaluru is concerned, there are, of course, challenges for the current government as well, as far as this is, there. But how does the government plan to navigate this? Because every government that has come into power previously as well has not been able to find a solution.
Let us acknowledge the fact that the Bangalore city is one of the fastest growing city in Asia and one of the fastest growing city in the entire world. But now, accepting the ground realities is one thing, and then we can find a proper solution for it. Firstly, we need to understand that the normal vehicle count on the normal days would be between 1.5 to 2 lakhs. But yesterday was Bandh. Public transport was disrupted, and for which reason many people or many employees started moving to their offices or to the workplaces in their own vehicle. So the vehicle count was between 2.5 to 3.5 lakhs up till 7:30 p.m. because of that reason, number one. Number two, many employees who visited their office, having noticed that it was closed because of the Bandh, they had to return back immediately. They returned and added much more to the traffic. So at the same time, the traffic contribution or their contribution to the traffic jam has increased. And subsequently, because of the long weekend, yesterday was Bandh, today is a public holiday. Again, tomorrow, a Bandh is called by some other organizations. So that, and day after again, it is a Saturday, it's a holiday, then Sunday again a holiday. That being the case, because of the long holidays, many employees having noticed the fact that it is a continuous holiday, they have opted to go out to their native places or different parts of the state, wherever they are located basically from. So that being another contributor for the traffic jam. And secondly, see, the rains have caused waterlogging in several areas and several roads have been damaged because of that reason. And several roads have been blocked. That is one of the reasons which contributed again. And the next is again, multiple vehicles have broken down between 3:30 to 5 p.m. And that has narrowed down. The road itself was already
I have
narrowed
to
down by the
interject you there. You are, of course, talking about yesterday, but the larger aspect over here
But
is,
now-
with the fact that you're pointing out that more organizations have called for a ban in the next couple of days. The question ultimately here is we shouldn't be in a situation where citizens have to face this. I'm going to come back to you. Anand, I'm going to come back to you as well. Just give me a few minutes. I do understand another viewer would like to share their perspective calling from Bengaluru. I understand Nirmal has called us. Nirmal, good evening. बताइए आपके perspective इसके बारे में.
ಇವಾಗ ಅದು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ.
Nirmal, if you can hear me, good evening. Nirmal, good evening. If you can hear us, please go ahead and share with us your perspective.
Madam, I'm from Bengaluru. Hello. Hello,
Yes.
can you listen me?
बोलिए बोलिए.
मैं एक्चुअली बेंगलोर से हेब्बाल से हूँ. बेंगलोर हेब्बाल.
हाँ निर्मल जी, आपकी आवाज आ रही है, बताइए.
हाँ तो मैडम इधर का ट्रैफिक द कंडीशन बहुत वर्स्ट है, तो इसका क्या सोल्यूशन है?
All right, that is of course the same question that everybody is asking. Nirmal, thank you very much for joining us. Anand Gurumurthy, let me come to you. You know, that's something that I was asking Sanket previously as well. This is not something that, political aspect of it is one part of it. But like how Nirmal called in, he just had that simple question that everybody is asking. What is the solution? Because obviously Bengaluru's image is also cutting quite the sorry figure. And now, of course, the Congress talks about the brand Bengaluru. But this is not the first time we're seeing whether it is this aspect. And when it rains, of course, then that's a different story altogether.
See, last year rains were very heavy. And at that point of time, BJP government was there. And we saw that there were a lot of disruption in traffic. And we took the blame at that point of time. And we started studying this aspect. Okay. And then we saw that there are two things to this. One is the infrastructure boost that we talk about. See, we have this much, we have to use this much only, okay? And we start building it, and there should be a continuous development plan. So second, I will talk about the continuous development plan. First of all, what we found out, other thing was, if the traffic governance is done in a proper way, in a more scientific way, this helps. So we brought in MS Ali, who was the traffic commissioner in 2010-11 when Yediyurappa ji was the CM. We had found that person knows things very well, and he scientifically manages things, and he also coordinates with other departments like BWSSB, corporation, everybody gets involved. He makes a traffic action committee and does that. So he was brought in. And in the last 1 year, we saw that there was some improvement. But again, see, I'm not blaming that a transfer happened, so this has happened. Okay, MS Ali was transferred to a good department like CID, and he's an efficient officer, he was transferred. But what I'm telling is the improvement that he brought in, the system, the process that was brought in, should be followed by the next officer who comes. Okay, this was one thing which is lacking. Once MS Ali moved, again, it has become lax. So the administration has to take this up through you. I want to tell the Congress government and the Congress spokesperson about this. Please take it up in a very fast way, because the city needs good traffic administration, and whatever was put in place by Mr. MS Ali should continue, and that will help the Bangaloreans in a big way, because traffic should, move, and wherever there's a clock, they should have a kind of mechanism which he puts in, okay, through walkie-talkie, and makes things move, which did not happen yesterday, which was a failure on part of the governance part. Then the second thing is the continuous development plan. See, this is very important, okay? Always we put in a continuous development plan, and there should be political consensus on this. See, even BJP in its last term was against Siddaramaiah government with respect to concrete roads. But once that was already, done and other things, I'm talking about 2017-18, once the BJP government came into governance, we continued the effort and made sure that the entire tender is completed. So this way, we continued the effort in the continuous development plan. But here again, what has happened is Once this new government comes into picture, they stop all the development activities, say that there's no money, there's that. Okay. See, they came on certain terms, that terms only they understand. Okay. And because of that, they are, telling there's no money and other things. But this is something which affects every citizen. See, imagine children coming at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening after leaving the school at 4 o'clock. Everybody gets irritated. So we have to have this continuous development in mind and ensure that Bangalore city eases out properly. So the two things I want to summarize. One is the traffic management plan that was put in. Please ensure that it is in place and it happens. Okay. And people see it. If this happens, that means the traffic management plan put up by Dr. Salim, the traffic commissioner that was there during our time, is not working. So the next officer has not taken.
Anand Gurumurthy, I'd have to interject you there. You have, of course, raised some points, which I'd try to go to Sandeep in a bit about the same. But let me just quickly go across to a viewer who's calling us from Bengaluru. In fact, Mrs. Lobo. Mrs. Lobo, good evening. Please share with us your perspective.
Hi, Nivedhana, good evening.
Good evening, Mrs. Lobo. Go ahead.
Yes, I've got a suggestion or two to make. I've got one or two
All right, please go ahead.
To make. From Monday to Friday, you all should have only ban only one person per car. They should have a minimum of 3 people. Okay? Secondly, on Saturday, Sunday, they can do whatever they want. Have one person or no person, let the cars move. If they want to, get caught on roads, no problem. Second suggestion is they should have odds on one day, even one day license plates. So there will be less cars on the roads. And the most important thing, Nivedhana, is the minister himself should come and see all the potholes that are creating a hassle on the roads and creating problems for cars, which is also a source of delaying traffic. You think the minister can do something about that?
Well, that is a question that we are posing to Mrs. Lobo, but appreciate you joining us here and sharing with us your perspective. In fact, we're going to continue this discussion here on News at 7, but we're slipping into a short break. Stay with us. We're going to be right back. Welcome back. You're watching News at 7. Of course, we're continuing the conversation as far as the trauma and the ordeals that Bengalurians have to face as far as traffic is concerned. Let me go back to our guests who continue to stay with us. Sandeep, I'm coming back to you on something that we're discussing as far as the ORR space, always sees this congestion, this bottleneck. But for the space, for the benefit of our viewers, it is the city's tech corridor. But I was also reading that the traffic congestion in this particular tech corridor costs about $15 billion annually in terms of the loss that the state government faces. Is that the case?
Yeah, it's quite true. When there's inefficient mobility infrastructure, there's a huge amount of time wasted by everybody being in traffic or being stuck in traffic or delays. And that translates into economic loss, and they put these varied figures. Potentially, I feel the figures are actually much higher because what it doesn't factor in is loss of business, flight of business. A lot of people get fed up, they shift to other cities. So the total loss to the city will be missed economic opportunities and lost economic opportunities as well. I don't know if that's also factored in, but it's quite possible. Now, the tragedy of the outer ring road is that originally it was planned to have a BRTS. If you travel on that road, you'll find these flyovers at every population point with a break in between. That actually increased the cost of the flyovers by 25%, but it was done with the intent that a BRTS lane will run in the middle. That is a bus rapid transit system. Now, because of the politics and the metro opposed having competition, I don't understand how one arm of the government can consider any other arm of the government as a competition. That's ridiculous to me. But this is what played out, and the BRTS was cancelled because the metro said, we are going to set up a metro there. So we could have had a BRTS, say 10 years, but 2010 or so. So 15 years back, we could have had a BRTS system on that road, but it was never done. In fact, it could have been done in 2000 itself. The ORR was built, if I'm not wrong, in early 2000. So there is a lack of planning, and whenever
when we saw the IT boom happening,
they don't get carried out.
Right.
And there is a bigger low-hanging fruit. We have an existing rail system in Bengaluru, the rail network, which covers almost 70% of the city. Now, with simple technological upgrade, that is having an automatic signaling and a control room, we can have a 15-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute local train on every one of those. We have about 7 corridors, which will give a very feasible alternative to all citizens to move away from the road. Right now, the road is the mainstay. The metro only carries about 6 to 7 lakh rides a day. So a bulk of almost 1 crore rides in the city happens on the roads. So basically the roads are overburdened. That is the only option available to most. So the suburban rail can actually be enhanced within a few months. Within 2-3 months, you can have a skeletal service running every 15 minutes or every half an hour. People will actually shift then. But the problem is, this was proposed in 1980. No government wants to do it because there's no money involved in it. A small upgrade like that, empowering trains to travel at higher frequency, doesn't require huge investment. They want something that costs 30,000 crores, 40,000 crores, so they can take big kickbacks. So the citizen is the last on the politician's mind, and both the political parties that are represented here are not giving any reason as to why we don't have a metropolitan planning committee, the planning authority for the city, or why we haven't devolved and decentralized yet, because planning has to happen from local levels. Every local area has to have a local area plan.
Absolutely.
Then it has to be a district plan. And the local area plans have to factor in how every locality can be self-sufficient. Therefore, people don't have to keep traveling. This school buses traveling 10-20 kilometers to take kids and destroy their childhood. It's pathetic. It's unforgivable. In fact, I hope the Congress representative here gives a commitment that every school in every neighborhood will be forced to take students from the immediate neighborhood, so that these buses don't. I think half the buses on the road are school buses. It's ridiculous. Look at those images on your screen. It's mostly school buses in yellow. They should not be there. I mean, it's ridiculous. So there is a policy fix required.
Sanket, would you want to come in there? I mean, this is an opportunity. Sandeep, I'll come back to you.
Sure.
To take cognizance of the matter, and most importantly, responsibility, accountability for the ordeal that citizens have to go through. And, for a matter of fact, we've all been stuck in Bengaluru traffic. So it is high time that things change.
For the first time in India, the Karnataka Congress government is thinking about having a dedicated traffic management policy for the city of Bengaluru, and also the legislation which would follow the regulation, constitution of a traffic management authority, and the management of the traffic in a systematic and scientific manner. It also involves several provisions, penal provisions, or the penal consequences for violation, and fixing of an accountability or the liability in case there is a default in doing their service or the duty. This is something being thought for the first time based on an Ireland model. The reason being because everyone is blaming
all right, but
the
Sanket,
government for the
I have to interject you there because we're going back to more viewers of ours. But like Sandeep was also stating, everyone has spoken about it, the plans are out, but when is the implementation ultimately going to happen is, of course, the question. But let me take that across to more viewers of ours. Vimal calling us from Chennai. Vimal, good evening. Go ahead and share with all of us your perspective.
Good evening, madam. Good evening to all the viewers. Though Bangalore is one of the most outreaching, outgrown cities in pan-India, and it is one of the most cosmopolitan, one of the best cities in India, the traffic conditions here are the most worst here. We travel from Chennai to Bangalore. We don't take the car because the traffic is so heavy and thick. We seldom take the car and we travel by train. It is because of the poor mismanagement of this government. Only the hats have been changed, madam. The hat remains the same. It is last year BJP and this year Congress. They're all implying on each other, carrying out, playing what you call relay race, this is. But they are not actually attending to the problem. They should have a management committee on the traffic. They have to implement with all the departments involved. And the first priority of this government is to ensure there should be a free flow of traffic. Number one. Two, the student safety is also there, children's safety. Number three, the patients' ambulances. That is more important. And you know, the office boys, they get wired out since from morning to evening, standing in the traffic chaos. So the management, the concerned government now has to take up the issue on priority basis. The public is not concerned whether you have got the funds or no, but it is your job to do the job. You are elected to do it. You get your funds, get its matter straight, and see that you implement it in the best interest of the city and the citizens, and no other political game. That is what I feel, Dr. Jana.
All right, Vimal, I appreciate you joining us here this evening and sharing with us what you think about the situation in Bengaluru as well. Like you said, everybody is in the race, but looks like no government is willing to cross that line. But I understand Mahesh from Bengaluru has called us. Mahesh, good evening. Go ahead and share with us your perspective.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Hi, this is Mahesh from Sarjapur area in Bangalore. I have a few thoughts specifically on the traffic management. I think Sandeep made some pertinent points. I think AI cameras should take care of all violations and make all the policemen focus primarily only on managing first. Yeah, and we also see a lack of roads. I think Sandeep pointed that out. That there aren't any other alternatives, right? So if you have to go through Bengaluru area, there is only one area. I mean, all the inner roads are all very congested, small, and we don't have any other options. So traffic management infrastructure would be the way to go. So.
All right, Mahesh. Thank you also for joining us here on News at 7, sharing with us your perspective. Let me quickly go across to another viewer of ours, Jai Kumar, again calling us from Bengaluru. Jai Kumar, good evening. Please go ahead and share with all of us on the show your perspective. Jai Kumar, again calling us from Bengaluru. Jai Kumar. Jai Kumar, if you can hear me. All right. Okay. We'll try connecting to more of our viewers. But let me come to Anand Gurumurthy. Anand Gurumurthy, you of course heard what all these viewers had to say, and they're all from Bengaluru. And one pertaining point over there is the Metro Planning Committee is one aspect of it. The other being that it doesn't matter who is in power. Ultimately, it has to be implemented.
Yeah. So I also have the same view. See, as Sandeep told, okay, whether it is our suburban train service or whether it is metro, all these things are getting, in attraction. And see, if you see the expansion of metro from Kengeri to almost we are reaching Whitefield, there's a small stretch to be done, but otherwise almost we are reaching Whitefield. And the airport thing is also happening at a very fast pace. See, things are happening, okay, but the thing is, on a day-to-day basis, as one of the viewers told, and I also told in the program, traffic management has to be very, very clear. Okay, it is only managed for the politicians, for the VIPs who come and go, and that also creates more traffic backlogs. So that should not happen. Okay, in fact, in Karnataka, politicians are very safe. Nobody needs security. Please remove all security and put them into traffic duty. That will also solve a lot of problems for the citizens. So I would request the government, okay, please take all the protocol security that you give unnecessarily to many of the politicians. Remove that in Bengaluru. They are very safe. Even we travel in metro, nobody touches us or there's no problem. We all travel. I regularly travel in metro, so I also request the citizens try to use more public transport. Yes, there are certain things that these guys have bought in because of certain rules and regulations and certain freebies and other things. Things are getting damaged for people regularly traveling, but still the autos and the taxis, the apps, and also the metro is usable in Bengaluru. And also try to walk a little bit. Okay, the last mile is almost all in all the bigger cities is about walking.
Okay, Anand, as you make those points as to what options citizens also have and what the current government should do, I'd have to interject you there again because we do have. I'm going to come back to you. I understand Shiva from Bengaluru has called us. Shiva, good evening.
Nivedhana,
go ahead and share with us your perspective. Anand, I'm coming back to you.
Yeah, good evening,
Shiva,
madam, and
go
good
ahead.
evening to all the viewers. Yeah, can you hear me, madam? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me, madam? Yeah. Good evening, madam, and good evening to all the viewers. Just a couple of suggestions, madam. Actually, Yesterday I was caught in the traffic for around 4 hours, okay, just to travel around, 6 kilometers. So the first point I would like to bring up is...
And which area was this?
We need more traffic. Yeah, we need more traffic personnel at the signals and at the duty timings. And, they need to be, work like soldiers, and they should be given enough powers because, from the traffic violators. And, they themselves need some kind of an assistance because the public don't, follow the rules, okay? And they themselves need assistance. So there is a lot, more traffic personnel is required. And we need a ban on all these, the Yulu, Zomato kind of vehicles because they park it haphazardly and they enter one-way roads in the opposite direction. And this is getting into a lot of traffic jams. Okay. And the another thing is the train level crossing, which are one of the worst in the Madhevpura area. Okay. And especially Madhevpura area is, one of the highest tax paying ward. And, there is a lot of corruption in this ward. So that is what we see. Okay. And,
All right, Shiva, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast and sharing with us your perspective as well. But on that note, I also want to thank all of you for joining me here this evening and sharing with us everything that you think the current government should do. And of course, in terms of the fact, let's hope that every Bengalurian doesn't have to go through this ordeal. We're slipping in a short break here on News at 7. More on the other side. Stay with us.